Okay, welcome back to InsideFlix. We're going to be doing our weekly box office report. Rich, come on, tell us about which films made the top 5 this past weekend.
The number one film in November so far is Black Adam with 18.2 million. Coming number 2 is One Piece film Red with 9.3 million. Coming number 3 is Ticket to Paradise with 8.5 million. The number 4 movie is Smile with 3.9 million. And rounding out the top 5 is Pray for the Devil with 3.8 million.
You guys were saying about Black Adam, if that made 20 million this week, it would be a really good sign.
Yeah.
18, It's not bad, but what's your feelings about that number?
18 is more in line with what I was expecting to land at, kind of like a more realistic number. But I mean, like you're saying, it's very close to 20. It's still good. The problem is Black Panther comes out next week. So, I mean, this movie's going to have a massive drop next week. And unfortunately, it's probably not going to stick around because everyone's just going to see Black Panther instead. They're in the same genre.
But I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, if Black Panther's such a big hit next weekend, that people who didn't, well, there's a lot of people who didn't see Black Adam yet. I mean, they could actually, fall over and watch it in the weekend too. I mean, it could make some more. It could make
but it's possible. But you do have to consider that it's no longer going to have any premium theaters. You know what I mean? It's no longer going to be playing in IMAX. It's not going to have 4DX. It's not going to have all those. It's just going to be in standard theaters. And those are cheaper tickets.
It's going to be pushed out while Wakanda Forever is going to be more available.
I was seeing that One Piece film already had taken a lot of the bigger kind of more premium screenings away from Black Adam. And now that Black Panther's coming out, now Black Adam's just going to be in only standard screenings. It'll probably stay in the top 5. I just don't think it's going to be bringing in enough numbers week to week to, get it to 500 million.
What's your feelings about One Piece film Red, which is this anime film? It did surprisingly did well.
No, I think it did actually okay.
Oh, okay.
I think it did just okay. And I think one of the things I'm really seeing with these anime films, like seeing with One Piece Red and the last kind of Dragon Ball movie that came out, these movies are very front loaded. And I think this one took it to the whole new level because it made most of its box office opening day.
Right.
Everyone was expecting this to have I think to make about 15 to 20 million for the weekend. It just seen how well it performed on Friday. And the fact that it came in with 9 million, not even 9.5, I mean, it just really, really shows that this is just a very front loaded genre. I think for Crunchyroll, this is still a huge win. This is still a huge home run because these movies are cheap as hell.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine.
All right, let's get into the rest of the top 10, Rich.
The number 6 film is Lyle Lyle Crocodile. Number 7 is The Banshees of Inisherin. Number 8 is Till. Number 9 is Halloween Ends. And number 10 is Terrifier 2.
Let's talk about Banshees of Inisherin. This opened a little bit less than 1,000 screens. It's not exactly 1,000 screens yet, but it did pretty well at number 7.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit about this before recording. Me and Rich were just expecting this to open up much higher than it did. Just based off the star power and the reteaming of the director and the stars of In Bruges, really thought this was going to be a much bigger hit. And also, this is the best reviewed movie of the year.
Yeah,
but I think we also shouldn't be that surprised by this because the movie really wasn't advertised very much. I mean, the movie just premiered. I mean, just premiered I think a month ago. The reviews came out for it. A trailer came out, and that's kind of been the marketing for it. So it's if you're not already in these kind of movie circles, I don't know how people are supposed to even know this movie exists.
Well, to compare it to say something like Tar or even Triangle of Sadness, I think it's doing a little bit better than those two films because those two films are kind of have dropped off the chart.
Yeah, they're on their way out.
And so I think Banshees seems to have at least a little bit of a buzz going for it. And then also there's a lot of talk about Colin Farrell and, him possibly being nominated for an Oscar for his performance in that movie. So I think this is going to continue to grow. I don't know if it's going to break the top 5, but I think it's just going to continue to stay in this 6, 7, 8 ranking for a while.
I think you're right, Mike. I think this movie could definitely, stay in the top 10 for a while, but if they're going to do that, they really need to start releasing kind of TV spots or something for the movie, or maybe not TV spots, but ads on the internet and stuff, with all the 100% on Rotten Tomatoes or whatever, all the critic quotes and stuff, to to sell this movie, because I don't think they've really been doing enough.
Well, Brendan Gleeson did host the SNL a week ago.
Well, SNL's like a joke. I mean,
All right, let's look ahead at next week. Rich, tell us what movies are coming out in wide release.
Opening up wide this weekend is Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. And that's all you need to know.
that's the only big movie that's coming out in the wide. Yeah, I think this is for sure. This is going to be number one.
With how much? Because this is something like we've been talking about, like just before recording and stuff, like for days now. Like, how much is this movie going to make? Is it going to outgross the first Black Panther? Is it going to make over than 200 million, or is this going to be a disappointment? Like, everyone was expecting Thor: Love and Thunder to be, like a $200 million movie, and it came way below. Is this going to be another Marvel disappointment like that? Is the Marvel fatigue, superhero fatigue, really starting to set in? This is something Mike's always talking about. or is this going to be the one that, surprises everyone? Like, this is what we've been waiting for, and it even outgrosses the first Black Panther, which is a possibility.
Yeah, because the first movie came out in February, which no one expected to make such a big opening in February. Mm-hmm. But this is, basically as close as you get to Thanksgiving weekend, and it
could set a record.
Yeah, it could make that 200 million opening.
I don't know if it's going to break its original Black Panther record. I mean, that's a tough record to break.
It is, but I mean, you have to also remember that Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, which was, for the most part, I think most audiences and most critics would agree, was a very disappointing movie. That opened to 190. Mm-hmm. And again, that's a disappointing movie that got middling reviews. And it opened so well. It did so much better than the first Doctor Strange. And even though I was kind of expecting that movie to do a little better than it did, it still did much better than it deserved to do. And Black Panther, I mean, to say Black Panther is going to make more than or less than Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, for me, it's kind of hard to accept. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because that was such a mediocre movie.
Well, ever since, the screenings and the premiere of the film, we haven't heard anything spoiler wise reaching the internets, and I'm kind of surprised by that. I mean, that they're keeping it a surprise, and that it's holding. So I'm really intrigued to see what they did with the passing of Chadwick Boseman. I mean, how are they going to pass this Black Panther baton, and what they've done with it.
You want to know if Namor killed him?
Yeah. This it's a mystery to us.
But is that enough? Is that a good enough mystery to run out to see the movie? Especially
that's why. I think so.
But also, here's another thing. And I don't necessarily think this is going to affect the movie, but it is something that I think to bring up. Will the heaviness of this movie turn audiences off to going to see this? Because I think audiences right now really just want kind of crowd-pleasing movies. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I mean, just like looking at how a bunch of these more serious films have been performing. I mean, will that affect this movie? Will this affect its box office?
I think it's a good question. I think when I saw the first teaser trailer, you got that seriousness in the promotion, and you felt like kind of the weight of this loss from Chadwick Boseman and even the character T'Challa. But then once we get into the other kind of promotions and other trailers,
Riri Williams,
yeah, or even the Namor and all this stuff, it really feels kind of odd. The promotion for this movie feels kind of mixed. Like at one point, it feels like the cast is very much somber, especially when they come to talk about Chadwick. And yet there's also the other side of kind of introducing this new character, Namor, and trying to celebrate that kind of diverse kind of bringing a Mexican culture into this film too, and so it's kind of this off balance of somber, but also celebration of this new culture, and it just feels a little, I don't know, mixed.
I'm personally not necessarily bothered about the introduction celebration of Mexican culture. For me, it's more just how they're going to balance the serious tone of basically mourning Chadwick Boseman and mourning T'Challa, and balancing that with the typical kind of MCU comedy, having Riri Williams flying around yelling "Let's go" and all this stuff. The little wings on Namor, and all that stuff feels like it's going to take away from the seriousness and from from everything that made the first trailer so special.
Mhm.
But I don't know. At the same time, I feel like all that goofy stuff that doesn't appeal to us is probably what's going to make this movie make over 200 million over opening weekend.
Well, we'll see. I mean, it's definitely going to be a barometer of what's to come. And if this is a huge hit for Marvel, and I think it continues kind of the stronghold of what superhero movies has on the movie business. Now, if it performs a little bit lower than expected, I should say, I think this movie is going to do a ton of money no matter what.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
but if it's lower than expected, I think
Like if this does like Thor: Love and Thunder numbers, you're trying to say?
yeah, I think there's definitely that's going to raise some eyebrows, and I think
Absolutely.
and I think studio executives have to think about not putting all their eggs in the superhero basket and really kind of think of other films to finance.
Because also, if this movie underperforms, it'll still be profitable. It'll still be very profitable. But if this movie underperforms, if this is kind of like a Thor: Love and Thunder situation, then that would mean that literally every comic book movie that came out this year underperformed.
Yeah, that's true.
Every single one. All the Marvel movies that came out this year were expected to do much bigger numbers. And same with the DC movies, Black Adam, even Batman, which I think is the best comic book movie of the year. It underperformed. People were expecting that to be $1 billion movie. And I think if Black Panther also underperforms, then I mean, there's no denying it. There is superhero fatigue setting in, but they're still profitable movies.
Yeah.
So I mean, no one's saying that that the genre is dead. It's just, maybe I think your Mike's right. Maybe we shouldn't, be spending $200 million on movies.
Well, it's definitely. I think there is this oversaturation of the superhero in this market.
That's a good point. Yeah. Remember when we would only get two of these a year?
Yeah.
Like sometimes like one Marvel movie or one like DC movie, and like they would be massive. Yeah, and they were important. It felt important. Yeah,
and it felt very special. Like when a comic book movie came out, it doesn't feel as special.
That's gone.
Now, yeah, it doesn't feel as special as it did before. Even when we're dealing with a Black Panther movie where it should be who's taking over the Black Panther mantle. And I don't know if that question, especially when we kind of already know, really, I mean, they kind of already give it away in the trailers, but it doesn't necessarily feels like I need to rush to see this movie in the first weekend. But we'll see. I mean, I could be totally wrong. This could be like a huge hit. This could be like breaking records. But we'll see. I mean, that's what I'm very interested in seeing the numbers coming in for this movie.
Me too.
This weekend.
Very curious.
Yeah. All right, let's get into limited release. Rich, tell us about what movies are coming in limited release.
In select theaters this weekend, it will be The Fabelmans. Also in limited release is The Friendship Game, Bar Fight, and Sam and Kate. Each will be also available on VOD.
How many theaters is the Fabelmans going to be playing in?
Well, the Fabelmans is going to be in select theaters this weekend, but it's going to go expand wider and wide release during Thanksgiving weekend. And it's not going to be on VOD.
It's probably going to be playing in like 50 theaters in LA and New York.
Most likely, yeah, big cities, and then once we get into Thanksgiving weekend, it'll be nationwide,
everywhere. Yeah.
I mean, let's talk about The Fabelmans. This is like Spielberg's probably his most personal film to date,
easily.
Yeah, it's inspired by his own childhood. It got a lot of buzz by Michelle Williams. There's a lot of Oscar talk about her performance. She kind of plays the fictionalized version of Spielberg's mother. And Paul Dano is in this, and Seth Rogen. So, I mean, I think this is, unlike, let's say, Armageddon Time, which kind of deals with the same type of thing, although that movie is set during the early 80s in New York. This is like 1950s, 1960s in Arizona. I think this is going to be a huge hit. I think, at least limited wise, I think this is going to be one of the best per screen average of this weekend.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for this weekend, I think it's going to have a very, very impressive theater average, especially it's going to be playing in LA and New York. I mean, that's what the audience for these types of movies are. So this could have the best theater average of the year potentially. Mm-hmm. But overall, like its total box office, since this is going to be kind of having a slow rollout. I don't know. I mean, I think it's definitely going to perform better than West Side Story, but I also don't think this is going to be like, I don't know. I just don't think this is going to be like a $200 million movie or anything like that, worldwide box office like that.
Well, this is definitely Spielberg's love letter to filmmaking, and
Yeah.
of course, telling his life story along with it. But I don't know if this will actually be like a film that'll last along all the way till Christmas, or
I'm hoping it does. That's the hope, right? Because if it does that, if it can, play throughout, like, well, it's opening basically on Thanksgiving, but if it could like have legs throughout December, I think it's going to be successful. Fingers crossed for Spielberg that it's more successful than Belfast.
All right, let's look at what's streaming this week. Rich, tell us what's streaming.
On Netflix, there'll be 3 films. The first one is That Black Enough for You? And then My Father's Dragon and Falling for Christmas. Raymond's favorite.
I don't even know what that is.
Falling for Christmas is Lindsay Lohan's comeback holiday rom-com for Netflix.
Oh, wow. We have to review
it. All right. And yeah, so that's it for streaming, I guess, right, Rich?
Yeah, that was it.
All right, that's it for this box office report. We'll be back next week with more box office results, and we'll also talk about the movies that come out next week.
And we'll also talk about Wakanda Forever, how it does in the box office.
All right, bye-bye.